Starting the stream.
Starting the recording.
It's really hard to stop when you start the stream. Like, in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm. No, I know. We've all been
John,
there.
you know what I hope more than anything? Like, in the middle. That our internet does not give out in the middle of the episode.
Sure. That'd be a thing I'd hope for as well.
Yeah.
Has that been a problem?
Well, kind of. It just kind of shut off, like, pretty much, would you say right on time at midnight last night?
Yeah, it was like they decided, go to bed.
I was in the middle of recording Battle Pets when that happened.
Jesus.
I was talking about the diorama, and I just kind of keep going, and Eludra's video just kind of stopped. She's like,
"Oh, you just
kept going."
You just reminded me, Joss. This is gonna be a really weird question, but
oh god.
But Ben reminded me of what I was doing right when the internet died. Shut up, Ben. Okay, you were playing a Hearthstone match. And you were doing really well. You had played all your cards, and you had hit fatigue, and it was against the Jaina, and all of a sudden she starts putting out all these, like, mages or something. I don't know Hearthstone very well.
Sorcerer's Apprentices.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Did you win that game?
No.
Damn it!
Once that starts happening, you just die. That's the quest mage. It kills you in one turn.
Okay, so
Doesn't matter how much health you have, it's infinite.
She was in the process of putting that out.
Yes.
When
I conceded, I didn't even let her do it all.
Oh, okay. All right. Because, yeah, I was just like, oh my gosh, Joss is going to win this. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing all these mages come out. And then next thing I know, my internet's gone. And I was like, no, I need to know. I need to know who wins.
They broke it.
Yeah. No, it was the mage. Because what happens is, okay, so fireballs do 6 damage and cost 4 mana, but sorcerer's apprentices, they discount your spells by 1. So if you get 4 sorcerer's apprentices, then your fireballs are free. And once you can cast free fireballs, you play your Archmage Antonidas, who gives you a free fireball when you cast a spell, and then it's just infinite 6 damage over and over and over again. So you can have like 1,000 health, and it wouldn't matter. The mage would still kill you.
So many fireballs.
Mages are really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
That's not fun.
Yeah.
Okay, chat room, I'm sorry about the levels. For whatever reason, the mixer on the OBS is letting it go past the limit that I'm setting. So, I don't...
Dial it up to 11.
I feel like, was there like an update or something? Because I noticed my OBS suddenly started doing that yesterday too.
I don't know. I don't remember installing an update.
Jeez.
But yeah,
we go
it's
away
really
from
weird.
a week and this happens.
Technology just does its thing.
Oh
my
John,
God.
I forgot to tell you. I went to your apartment and broke in and messed with all your levels.
No.
Sorry, I totally forgot to tell you that.
Yeah, is that all you messed with?
Yeah, was he sleeping while you're doing this?
Well, of course. And I stood over him and stared for an hour. I mean, that's a normal thing.
That's sweet. That means that you love him. In a completely
Thorn
normal
says,
way.
I think we good fam, so...
I think we good fam.
I guess things are okay.
I like being good fam. We should start the show, seeing as we have a time... we don't really have a time limit, but we do have a time limit.
Yeah, but we're going to try to do
we have a soft time limit that we would like to get as close to as possible.
We have...
Because we love people who are on the show, and we don't want them to, like, completely fall asleep tomorrow.
Well, that's the problem. I can't fall asleep tomorrow.
Exactly.
We have a respectful
for 24 whole hours.
No.
Okay.
All right.
It's gonna be brutal.
Let's start the show. Ro, you're starting it, right?
Oh, 2 seconds.
Never
I'll
mind.
start off.
Ben's not ready. He's ruining it again.
Okay.
I just had to
Poor
throw
Ben.
something in the Discord to say that we're live. Trying to do that fan service.
Yeah.
Fans.
I love servicing fans.
Okay, we're good. We are good to go.
Okay. Then here we go. In 3, 2. Welcome to Azeroth Roundtable episode 242. My name is Ro from the Realm Maintenance Podcast, as you might know, and I am your host this evening as we crown a champion. We have 4 brave challengers here who traveled to the distant lands of BlizzCon 2017. I was there too. And we have plenty of listeners in the chat room tonight. I see a lot of familiar names, many of whom also participated in this year's challenge to see who would be the champion of Azeroth Roundtable with that big twist that was announced a couple episodes back. I can't wait to crown a champion. I spent a couple of days going through questions, doling out points, taking away points, and I know where we're going. I know where we've been. But before we get there, let's introduce the challengers once more. Of course, we have for Azeroth and the Angry Chicken and many another podcast on A-Move TV, Jocelyn Moffat. Hello there, Jocelyn.
Hello, hello.
And we have from the Lagging Balls podcast, Thyst. Hi, Thyst.
Hi, Ro.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. And then, of course, we have from Azeroth Roundtable, Ben Bumhofer.
Hey, Ro, how's it going?
It's going great, Ben.
It's a fantastic day here in Azeroth at the Roundtable.
Don't make me take away points for stealing other people's lines. And also we have from Azeroth Roundtable, John Jagger.
Hi, I'm on this show.
Yes, you are. Hi, John.
Hi, Ro.
All right, well, we're going to kind of cut to the chase here because we're up a little bit against the clock. I know the first episode of this went a little bit long. This one's going to be a little briefer because I already know the answers. We know the answers. But how does everyone feel about how well they did before we even get started? Joss, I mean, just from the outside looking in, you probably haven't looked at every single question. How do you feel about how well you did?
I can't even remember every single question. I felt like there were like 70. So,
right.
kind
There
of
were
okay,
25.
maybe. 25. Okay. Geez. Yeah. I feel like there were some that I know that I got right, some that I think that I maybe got right, depending on how you interpret it, and then others that I was like just wrong, including the heroes question, which means I just lost. So this should be fun.
That heroes question did seem to be pretty important. We also
Imagine that.
yeah, it's funny how that works. Thyst, how well do you think you did?
Oh, I think I lost, but I feel in my heart that I've won because I predicted that we would all have a good time at BlizzCon, and I don't want to speak for you guys, but I definitely had a good time at BlizzCon. So
Horrible
Oh,
time.
my.
No,
I had a
bad.
great
It was
time.
awful.
Horribly great.
you almost got me. You didn't get me though, because I knew you were lying. I could see it in your eyes. You're terrible at lying.
John,
Hi.
your thoughts? I mean, I know you said that this was a rebuilding year. How do you think about it? Things now?
I don't know, Ro, because somebody designed this contest around math and points
Yes.
and complications, and so
Yes.
we're gonna get to the end, and you could be like, John, you won, and I'd be like, oh, awesome, that makes sense. And if you were like, John, you lost, I'd be like, drag, that makes sense, because I really have no idea
That's how
how all
everyone
this
feels.
is gonna go. I feel like it's gonna be like, now, John, you predicted that accurately, but because of mathematics and my brain, that's negative 700 points. And I'll be like, well, he did say mathematics in his brain, so I guess I gotta
Can't
go
fight
with it.
science.
You can't fight science. It's very true.
Except with fire.
Hmm. I didn't think about that. Ben?
And low funding.
Oh.
Ben, your thoughts on your performance?
I think I performed as best as I could, but I gotta say that from what I've seen of BlizzCon, from what I actually remember of the show, which is very little, I'd say that it's anybody's game to lose, and I think we all have an equal shot at that loss.
It is definitely anyone's game to lose. Quick question for just you, Ben, because I feel like you may have been the most surprised by my big reveal. One of the listeners could end up being the champion of Azeroth Roundtable. They'd have to score twice as many points as the one of you four, but do you think that could happen? Are you nervous?
Oh, I'm not nervous. I mean, our fans are wonderful, wonderful people, and if they win, that's great, and I'm very happy for them. If they, however, do not win, that's also great, and I'm still happy for them.
That is a great PR question. I feel like you are Blizzard trained already.
Well, I did have an official Blizzard job for approximately 5 minutes at BlizzCon.
Really?
So I hear.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So we were talking about losing, and I just want to remind people, speaking of losing, there's high stakes up for grabs here. Not only does the champion get to be champion, but losers are going to have to do some things. From what I recall, if Joss loses, she's going to have to stream Outlast. If Thyst loses, she'll have to produce a clean episode of Lagging Balls. Ben would have to fish for 3 hours on stream, and John would have to stream a game of Ben's choice with no salt added. Them some high stakes.
Yep.
I want any of that to happen.
Now,
Can we
the
just
one
agree
thing...
that we're all winners, so none of us has to do those horrible things?
Down with
Well,
that.
so here's the thing. The one
Well,
thing
if we get participation ribbons, heck yeah, we're all winners.
The one thing I hadn't stipulated, though, is it the 3 people who don't become champion, or is it the person with the lowest points? I hadn't really decided.
After we find out who
Lowest
has the lowest
points.
points.
I think lowest
We will let you
points.
know.
Yeah, I kind of think lowest points.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm scared now.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'm okay with that. I think the person with the lowest points should probably, carry through on the wager. I think that's fair and acceptable. The 2 people who get in the middle, they should be able to walk at least somewhat unscathed. Looking forward to that one because I know who's won and I know who's lost. Now,
no.
And
all
it could
right.
be any of us, honestly.
It really could be anyone, and I could be out for anyone. I could be favoriting
I feel
anyone.
like-
A lot of people think
I
that
feel
I'm
like Ben
favoriting
didn't
some-
lose, though. Because, no one really wants to watch 3 hours of fishing, so
No.
if you're looking forward to
Oh,
it,
I
it's
love
probably not
fishing.
Ben.
Are you
I love
kidding?
fishing? Are you kidding me?
Jocelyn, I don't know if you've watched the show very often, but people don't like me. So watching me do some sort of torturous thing will bring them joy.
I
Why don't
would
you do it more
bet
often then?
if Ben streamed 3 hours of him just fishing, I'm betting an average of at least 20 people in the chat room at all times.
Agreed. And of course, if a listener ends up winning, not only are you going to get a Murloc-themed prize for myself, I hear there may be another prize that's been thrown into the pool, but I do want to mention that if a listener is declared champion for 2017, that listener is going to have the right to personally select a challenger in the 2018 episode, chosen from a list of guests that have appeared on the show from this day forward. So if any of you lose and the listener ends up becoming the champion, they can choose one of you to come back, free of charge, free of some big voting campaign, free of math and all that stuff.
Should we just say that if a listener wins, all of us have to do our negative thing?
You know what? I like that.
I mean, I don't want to speak for you
Now
guys.
I'm worried that Rose saying he likes that is an indication of what
I
happened.
like that a lot.
Yeah, really.
Okay. Yep. If a listener wins, everyone
No,
has
no,
to do
no.
that. Done.
I'm
Oh,
bringing
Ben,
this out
what have
to
you
all of
done?
us. No, I'm bringing this out to all of us to decide together.
I mean,
I think the chat room's going to be on board for all of you doing your wager if a listener wins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to say that I'm looking at the chat room list and I have identified the challenger with the highest number of points is in the chat room right now.
Oh
I'm
my
not going to
God.
say who that person is. They do not know who they are yet. There will come a point where they might know who they are, but if you figure that out, I want you to kind of keep it quiet till the end because I like that to be a reveal right near the end of the show. So tonight, in addition to keeping track of the scores of our challengers as we go through these questions, I'm also going to be telling you how the best listener did. Won't be revealing his or her identity just yet. Challengers, are we ready to get this rolling?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So at the start of this, we already have points assigned because we had points given out for wagers and we had points given by the chat room for how good your predictions were as far as how creative, how difficult, and all that stuff goes. So we're going to start off with Joss at 12 points, Thyst with 9, Ben with 13, and John with 16. And away.
Boo, John, boo.
All
I
right.
think the math is wrong.
Yeah.
honestly.
I don't know. It sounded right. I did it in my head.
Don't
So-
trust your head.
Opening ceremony extravaganza. These questions were worth 1 point if you got it right. You lose the point if you got it wrong. The first question was, will someone who is not an employee of Blizzard Entertainment speak live on stage during the opening ceremony? Now, this one's debatable, but I'm going to say no because I am pretty sure that Darren DePaul got paid by Blizzard, but I don't know if he'd it's debatable on
I
whether
don't think that's the same thing.
I don't think he's a Blizzard
He's a
employee.
contracted person, if that.
Yeah, and all creators should be paid for their time and their content. I think that's fair, but a freelancer is not the same as a Blizzard employee.
Yeah.
Yes. Just remember how Christy Golden would write books for Blizzard. She wasn't actually a full-time employee until most recently.
All right, so I had scored.
By the way, we discussed these answers.
We're already throwing my point thing into chaos because already my points on my sheet are wrong because you guys are saying that I'm incorrect, and I put down the thing as no when it's actually yes. But that's okay. I can adjust on the fly. Sure. So I'll tell you what. I'll just have to remember that Thyst loses an extra point, and John, Ben, and Joss, you get an extra point at the end, and also the listener loses an extra point at the end. So, great, wonderful. You see, this is what happened when I don't think about answers ahead of time.
Power of democracy.
The power of democracy. All right, so next question. Will Metzen reveal himself? Let's see. Jocelyn, Ben, and John said no. This said yes.
He was there.
Yes, but
he was at BlizzCon
himself during the opening ceremony, and he did not.
He might have revealed himself to other people during the ceremony.
Let's change the wording on that. Maybe made his presence known.
I'm going to say no on that one, which means points for Jocelyn, Ben, and John, points lost for Thyst, point gained for our best listener. Will more than 2 Murlocs appear during video segments from the opening ceremony? The answer, surprisingly, yes, although at first I didn't think it was going to be that way. This is something I actually had to go back on the footage to look at, and there is a Murloc for the Blizzard World sign for Overwatch. There were also Murloc, were those skee ball machines, and there were Murloc cosplayers during the Hearthstone segment. So definitely more than 2 Murlocs. Everyone said yes on more than 2 Murlocs. No one was surprised by this, although I thought that it could have almost been a no.
Well, we're good at this, Ro.
Yeah.
Well,
you guys clearly
this
know
isn't
what
our
you're
first
talking
rodeo.
about. Yeah.
Wait.
Rodeo.
That's a good one.
Speaking of Ben and not being his first rodeo, he was the only person of you 4 to get the next question wrong. Will there be a shadow drop for any Blizzard franchise? That's being, would there be any content that was announced as being instantly playable right away? Ben, you came really close, though. You actually came really, really close because Marin the Fox and Hearthstone could have been dropped that day, but they decided to wait till Monday.
Wait, Ro.
For totally unknown reasons.
Look, I
Just to
played
make
Blizzard
Ben wrong.
World and also the WoW demo beta of Battle for Azeroth at BlizzCon.
Yeah, but I did
I know,
say
I'm kidding.
I did.
I know. That totally doesn't
that's
work.
right.
Ben's like, no, I'm just making
If
arguments to
the
see if
question
it
was,
works.
are there going to be demos? Then I think we all would have said yes.
Would there be demos at BlizzCon? No, of course not.
No.
So points for Joss, Thyst, and John there. Our audience listener actually also got that one wrong. So they're chugging along. Oddly enough, at this point, I can tell you the audience listener is 2 points ahead of all of you.
Oh, shit.
Well, that's not double.
So
That's just marginal.
going on to the next question, would we see or hear a price point at any time during the opening ceremony? This thought that would be a pretty lame thing for Blizzard to do, and this was right. So were the rest of you. Y'all said no, and everyone got points.
Yes.
Yay,
Love you,
go
Blizz. Hire me.
Wait
Now-
a minute. Wait, hold on. I got a question.
Yeah.
Sorry to make this longer with weird, obscure questions, but how is the listener ahead of us? We had bonus points at the start that the listener
That's a
wouldn't
great
have
question,
had,
John.
and so far I've gotten everything right.
That's a great question, John. Let me explain that to you. First off, the listeners had a question to answer that none of you had a question to answer, and that is to predict the winner between the 4 of you. The listener that had the highest points did actually predict which one of the 4 of you would get the highest number of points, and they got 10 points for that. The listener's final prediction on a scale of 1 to 10 was rated by me as an 8 on a difficulty level. So they started with 18 points.
So they were 2 points ahead to start. because John had 16. Damn.
Oh my gosh, you're doing math. Let
I
Bro
know.
do that. Trust me.
Math's
Let him
so-
take care
math's
of
so
it.
good.
Be careful. That's
Sorry,
gonna
I'm
hurt.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Ay.
This is
All
nothing
right.
against your math abilities, but Ro is like a beautiful mind right now.
Yeah.
I am, but I'm going to have to do some math on the fly in a little bit here. Will the name of any old god be mentioned during WoW's presentation? This was one of the first shocking ones here. Everyone said yes, except for John Jagger, who said no. And there was no old god name mentioned during the opening ceremony.
I don't
When-
know how I got this right. I genuinely thought they would.
No, when Sylvana screamed, she screamed an old god name. You just couldn't understand it because she was speaking
I
Eldritch.
got
My
for the
favorite
Ford
old god
name
for
of
the
an old
herd.
god. Audience listener also said that there would be an old god name said, and yeah, so John moves ahead on of you guys a little bit there, while the rest of you fall back a point. Next question: will a new mobile app be revealed during the opening ceremony? Updates of existing apps don't count. The answer was no, which means good for Thyst and for Ben, but John and Joss both thought there would be.
They had a whole panel dedicated to it. I thought it was
Right?
a safe bet.
And our audience listener also said no, so they got a point there. Next question, very quickly. Will the game director of any current Blizzard game be on stage during the opening ceremony? Ben Brode with probably the best presentation of the whole thing.
I have to
And
agree.
It's funny because I believe that Thyst said yes because she thought, well, obviously Ian would be there for the opening ceremony, right?
I was hoping.
Yeah. It
Luckily,
didn't
I
happen.
didn't have to wait too long. But yeah.
But fortunately, your other comrades, Ben Brode and Jeff Kaplan, saved the day. All of you said yes, including the best listener, so y'all got points there.
Wait, Jeff from the Overwatch team is the game
Jeff from
director?
The Overwatch team is
Yeah.
the game director.
Weird.
No idea. No idea.
Really?
No, I did.
Oh, 'cause I was about to school you, and he was about to wrestle you to death. So
And the last question here, which franchise will be the last one featured during the opening ceremony? Joss went with her heart and hoped for Hearthstone because obviously new expansion. It wasn't Hearthstone.
Joss was wrong.
Joss was wrong.
Joss
This
was
went
wrong
with
about
Overwatch.
so much.
This went with Overwatch. You know, a kind of taking a moderately safe bet. It was either going to be Overwatch or World of Warcraft. Unfortunately, it was World of Warcraft.
I don't know what I was thinking.
It's
You're thinking
okay.
that Overwatch would be the last one.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
You know, I thought it was a coin flip myself, but the answer was World of Warcraft. Ben and John, showing their experience here on Azeroth Roundtable, get the 3 points. So does our audience listener. And folks, at the end of this first section, I believe now I have to make adjustments here because of this whole,
Because you were
question.
wrong.
because
Yeah.
I was wrong. So Jocelyn, Ben, and John should have 2 higher. So the score should be Jocelyn 13, Ben 20, John 25, audience listener, best listener 27, and Thyst had 8.
You're doing great. It's anybody's game.
yeah.
It definitely is anyone's game. Moving on to part 2,
Except mine.
these questions worth 2 points. First question at the Warcraft Q&A, will the question from Red Shirt Guy, aka Ian Bates, mention Jane the Proudmoore? We have a problem. So everyone assumed, well, not everyone. I assumed, guys, that there'd be a question from Red Shirt Guy. He had a streak of questions going on for several years now. It just seemed like a given that there would be a Red Shirt Guy question, but there was no Red Shirt Guy question. So regardless of how all of you answered, I'm not going to give points or take away points for this. I got to throw out the question because it's just not applicable.
Next year you can
That's
ask, how many times will the guy ask about Tychus's stupid cigar?
I I mean, you could say that, I mean, the question doesn't mention Jaina because there was no question. So,
Well, see, here's the thing, though.
Question, therefore,
Jaina wasn't mentioned.
He might have actually had a question that he wrote down at the Dark Moon Fair and put it in the mailbox. We don't know what the question actually would be.
I'm going to find out.
Well, the question from Red Shirt Guy wasn't present at the Warcraft Q&A, so I'm throwing that out. No one wins points or loses points for that. Moving on to our Heroes of the Storm question from the fans here. Will the technical difficulties for Heroes of the Storm last longer than the Grand Final? It was pretty clear, depending on how quickly the Grand Final finished on Saturday, that the answer is no. Everyone predicted no, including our best audience listener. So points for everyone there.
Nice. Good job, everyone.
Good,
yep.
Yay.
Way to go. Pat yourselves
We're
on
all
the
the
back.
status quo.
Will Ethereals be announced as a new playable race in World of Warcraft? The answer was a resounding no. That means points scored for, I believe, everyone except Ben.
Poor Ben.
I'm fine with that.
Buddy.
Look,
Maybe
I played
next
with my
expansion.
heart. I played with my heart.
Yeah, you did. You played with your heart so much that in the next question I asked, would any characters from the Hearth and Home cinematic at Gamescom be revealed as a legendary minion in the next
crap.
Hearthstone expansion? And to quote Ben, here comes the bleep, he said, fuck yeah.
I have to bleep it again. Jeez.
And now Ben has to write down the timestamp for that, which is
Which is what
awesome.
I'm doing.
Yep. And of course, the answer was no, which means points for Jocelyn and also for our best audience listener. Thyst, Ben, and John lose points there, unfortunately.
I thought
I'm
that
disappointed
little
about that.
mouse rat thing was going to be in there for sure.
And Josh showing her Hearthstone knowledge right there.
Yeah, they're outside of the game characters. They're promotional characters only. So it's kind of too
For
bad. There's some
now.
cool characters, but nah, I don't think for now. I think for
For
period.
now.
Okay, Ben.
That mouse, just watch.
All right, and then our last question, worth 5 points either way. This is a big one. This could swing some point totals here. Will the WoW team provide a roadmap for how they're going to cover the time between Legion and the next expansion? Kind of a controversial one.
Because
Everyone
the answer's
voted
yes.
Everyone voted yes, which means that really, whichever way we go here on points, the difference in point totals between everyone would be roughly the same.
Right.
That said, by my interpretation, I'm actually going to say no.
Well, you're wrong for the second time on this show.
That's
I don't
fine.
think you should be arguing with him, though.
you can say I'm wrong, but I mean they told us what would be happening in 735, and they didn't exactly say much more than that.
They said that the Battle for Lordaeron would be a pre-expansion event.
When did they say that?
Multiple times. I don't know. How do I know that? Because I watched the panels.
Well, like I said, either way, you guys would answer the same. So I'm not even going to really worry about going yes or no on that because
More
the
points!
totals would be.
Yeah, we
Did
want
our
more
listeners
points.
say the same thing as well?
You need to make it a yes just so we end with more points and sound better,
Yeah.
Ro.
I need more of a buffer between me and
Look.
zero, please.
If
that'd be
we
nice.
Oh my
end up
gosh!
in positives,
You
I count
guys.
this all as a win.
Yeah, plus the answer was yes. That's the bigger issue. They talked about how level scaling is going to happen before the next expansion. Like, that's a bit of a roadmap leading us there. They talked about the end raid content. They talked about the pre-expansion event. They talked about the thing itself. I think we got a roadmap. It's not super specific, but it's there. 5
And
points
on
to
top of that,
Gryffindor.
too, we don't know specifically if they're creating more content other than that. So they've mapped out what they've mapped out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
4-1.
So now making these micro adjustments in my head on as far as your point totals go. Thanks a freaking lot. Our point totals here are Jocelyn 18, Thyst 11, Ben 17,
Yes,
John,
I pulled ahead.
John 26, and the best audience listener with 32.
Ooh.
Wow.
Ooh.
Audience is
amazing.
showing their strength here. That moves us to the next and most interesting, not the most interesting part of this thing whatsoever, and it's what's in the box. And guys,
I think
Oh,
this
man.
is going to be
I had-
interesting.
I had a bit of a meltdown with this question because I had to watch
We
this whole
watched.
panel to find out what was in the box.
I feel so bad for you.
I felt like I had 45 minutes of my life robbed from me. Do you guys remember a few years ago in the opening ceremony, back when Chris Metzen was on stage and they went to a little thing called Geek Is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this was Geek Is without the coolness of Chris Metzen, flipped into the negative zone of Bizarro World, and then times 1,000. This was the biggest letdown in BlizzCon freaking history. What was in the box? Was it an Overwatch League trophy? No. Was it new Overwatch merchandise? No. Was it loot for people at BlizzCon? No, Ben, it wasn't. John, was it a live ape?
Sorta.
No.
Don't you sort of
does
that.
not count. That does not count.
First of all, it was a live ape. That's why it got held back in customs and they had to go with plan B. And second of all, a live person is much like a live ape.
No.
Well, you know what, John? If by that logic, then I get a point too because it was loot for all of us, and that loot was disappointment.
Oh, yeah.
All right, if I get a couple points for live ape, then I do. You should get a couple points for that.
I don't
too.
think anybody gets points for this. Like, nobody, ever.
Well, I'll tell you what, guys. There's about to be some upset people here because I am assigning points for this.
Boom.
Here we go. This is my final ruling on this. I was deliberating for a while between Ben and John here because I think they're the closest as far as between the four of you. The actual thing is our audience listener got closer than all of you.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm gonna want to check receipts on this because
Honestly,
honestly, the audience
once I mentioned-
listener is
once-
performing in such a way that I find it just unbelievable.
Once I mention what the audience listener predicted, that person's going to know who they are. So if you are in the chat room, and I believe you still are, please keep your identity to yourself. I appreciate it. The person who was the furthest away, in my opinion, was Jocelyn with Overwatch League trophy. So Jocelyn, I'm afraid you lost points there.
Hold on though.
Lame.
Wait, I have a question. Maybe
Yes?
to Joss's benefit.
Maybe.
Was the Overleague trophy there? Because
No.
if it wasn't, I mean like at the event. Because if it wasn't, then that's what got held up in customs, and that's what would have been in the box.
We have no proof of that one way or the other, so I'm going to assume that was not.
Using the power of deduction, we have reason,
You know what?
bro.
I think that Josh uses or gets a point for that as well because you know what?
No.
Imagination.
No, I'm putting my foot down on this one. You're not swaying me because these points are final. Okay, I went through hell to try to figure this one out. I'm not changing my mind on this.
All right, I'm just saying that if the
That's
trophy
great.
wasn't there, it was obviously the trophy, and Joss deserves some points.
And a live ape
Like,
was holding it
like-
along
like-
with all of the
like-
loot for everybody.
Because I mean, I will use this power. I will let this power go to my head, and I will strip you of 25 points.
Yeah, you guys don't want that. You guys should
No.
be good.
No. So this
Making
you didn't score any
entertaining
points.
Yeah, I know.
Between Ben and John, I looked at like this. It was YouTuber Stylosa cosplaying as as the spray for One Punch Kid. The spray for One Punch Kid is technically a loot item in Overwatch. Therefore, it's somewhat in the realm of possibility of being kind of sort of a little bit close. So Ben, you were the second closest. Therefore, you got 5 points.
I don't know if I even agree with those 5
That's a lot
points.
of points. Take
Well,
your
How
points,
many
Ben.
a lot
points
of
did I
points.
lose?
Like,
You lost, Jocelyn, you lost 5.
Oh.
like I'm glad you gave me the 5 points, and I do appreciate your ruling, but I don't think I can actually take those 5 points.
Well, you're going to take them anyway. John,
Okay.
you said a live ape. It was the dumbest freaking answer anyone could give, and yet because what was in the loot box was something that was alive, the 8 part out of it. Just the fact that it was alive by virtue of that made you closer amongst the 4 of you. Therefore, you got the 10 points. So congrats, John. Your dumb answer got you.
ridiculous.
Stretches.
For the record, too, seeing as we were mentioning that he's doing the little kid animation thing, Spray, that kid, when he does it, is saying Primal Punch. He's impersonating Winston.
Okay.
Okay, it's even more reason to give you the points. Now, our audience listener... I want to tell you what the audience listener said, because this is now going to identify him or her.
Disappointment? Because that was my original answer.
No. The audience listener said Terry Crews dressed up as a new Overwatch character firing T-shirts. The dressed up as a new Overwatch character firing T-shirts is, of course, wrong, but they said Terry Crews. Terry Crews being a human being, which is closer to the answer than a live ape, therefore...
That makes sense.
Got
Wow.
I mean, I guess.
Wow. That's all. Wow.
You know, Ro, I know that every single person that I've ever talked to, when your name has come up along with Star Trek, we say that if there's any race that you would be, it's definitely a Vulcan, because your logic knows no bounds.
So, with that in mind, and of course me having to make point adjustments for earlier rounds here, the scores right now are Jocelyn 13, Thyst 11, Ben 21, John 36, audience listener 42.
Jeez,
Audience listener bringing the thunder. We move on to part 4, the franchise free-for-all. Now, this was one where, for different people, the question could be worth bonus points potentially. Surprisingly, the whole bonus point thing didn't come into play too often. So, World of Warcraft question. World of Warcraft question. This was for Thyst to get double points. Using Scrabble point values, what's the total value of WoW's next expansion? Thyst guessed 50.
I don't play Scrabble.
No.
Yeah, I don't think anyone knew Scrabble point values.
I know.
Thyst guessed 50. Ben got 23. John got 59. Audience listener actually failed pretty hard on this one with 70.
Hey, some of us think that triple and double word scores are a thing all the time.
I mentioned that triple and double were a part of it. You may notice I left one person out, and that's the person who got it right. Jocelyn, you were 1 point off.
Wow.
Wow.
Amazing.
33, you had 32.
I like
Good
that
job,
Joss
Jocelyn.
picked a number, and we were all like, wow, she's so good.
Well, she is. She's Jocelyn.
I mean, that was a
Everybody knows
really,
that.
yeah, I mean, it was good. Good job.
Yep, so Thyst and Ben, no points were gained or lost for either of you since you were in the middle. Jocelyn got points. John and the audience listener both lost points there.
How dare you?
Like 30, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, number of points, I guess.
You
'cause
got
I could use 32
three
points right now.
3 points. Overwatch question, what will be the length of the new cinematic to be used at BlizzCon? I did mention if there were multiple cinematics to go with the longest one. We're going to be dealing with the Reinhardt cinematic here, of course. Let's see. Ben, you said 8 minutes 50 seconds. John, 3 minutes 57 seconds.
I didn't think we were
You're
gonna.
so close.
I didn't think we were
Not
gonna
as
get a
short
movie.
as Jocelyn, though.
Yeah, no, I was way wrong.
Jocelyn went with 2 minutes 36 seconds, the shortest answer, and therefore losing points there. Thyst, representing Overwatch, 8 minutes 32 seconds, the closest to our actual answer of 7 minutes.
Yes. Suck it.
Audience listener was surprisingly closer than you, though, going with 6 minutes 22 seconds. So, the audience listener picked up points as well as Thyst.
Yes.
I'm sure they needed it.
No, I'm sure they
I
did.
needed it.
Hey, they got to
Thyst
get
did.
double the points of the highest person, so every point counts here. Moving on to Heroes of the Storm, John's wheelhouse. What is the total number of times that heroes on both teams will die in the final of the game of the grand finals? Now, I believe Jocelyn said 23. Thyst said 6. Our audience listener said 12. Ben said 14. And then John, with the last opportunity to answer, decided to go one up on Ben and answer 15.
That's mean.
Had John gone one higher, he would have been exactly right for quadruple points. But the answer was 16. So, John, you still get double points. You were the only person to really take advantage of the double points there for your question.
Well, it's a game of skill, Ro. It's a game of skill, and
And he was restructuring, and
it was a rebuilding year.
Rebuilding,
yep.
Right.
So 6 points for John there. Thyst lost 3 points there. Audience listener, Ben and Jocelyn don't make or lose any ground there.
So close.
On to our StarCraft question. Now, this was actually a question where the audience would get double points because this was the franchise not picked by any of you. So audience participation would get double here if they got it right or closest basically to being right. How many cosplayers will appear on stage on Friday night portraying characters from the StarCraft universe?
Oh, yeah.
John, you said 7.
Yep.
Ben said 4. This said 12, and Jocelyn said 9. The answer was 6. John got it right again.
I didn't watch this contest. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I watched the end. I wanted to see who won.
I was surprised by it, too, because for a good part of the contest, it looked like it was going to be 3 for the longest time, but the last batch of cosplayers, there were 3 StarCraft characters. Boom, 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 and all of a sudden,
great job, cosplayers. Thanks a lot for that.
I'd like to thank the cosplaying community.
But everybody knows the real winner was Kaz. Good job, Kaz.
Oh, Kaz did great. I'm so happy she won with Hogger.
Me too.
Me 3.
And our audience listener guessed 3, so they actually were not the furthest away, because Thyst was furthest away with her answer of 12. So Thyst lost points, John got points, everyone else stayed the same. And then on to Hearthstone, we had how many new cards would be revealed over the course of the opening ceremony and the main Hearthstone panel. This is a debatable one, but there's an argument that could be made either way. My ruling is going to be cards revealed for the next expansion set. With that in mind, Thyst guessed 12, Ben said 7, John said 8, our audience listener said 12, Jocelyn Moffat, representing Hearthstone, the Angry Chicken, and all that good stuff, said 13. All of you went really low, considering I thought it would be around 30. The answer was 14.
Oh,
well, yeah. I knew it was going to be somewhere. It was definitely going to be more than 12, although I don't think anyone saw 14 coming. But so that's why I picked 13, just because then no one could possibly be closer than me, because I thought it was going to be. But I thought it was going to be like 30, like you did too.
Yeah, now the thing is, people could say, well, what about all those cards that were revealed as possible arena candidates? That is a fair point. However, as far as it affects this question, it would not have affected the outcome as far as who was closer and who wasn't, since it was higher than 13. So either way, the point values would work the same way. So Jocelyn gets points, Ben loses points. Audience listener, John, and Thyst remain where they were, which brings us at...
Hold on, how many did I say?
You said 7.
Okay. Sorry, I misheard. I misheard and had a different number in my head. Never mind, don't mind me.
It's all right.
Was that my double point question?
It was your double point question,
Yay.
actually. So you got 6 points for that. At the end of this section of it all, we get to Jocelyn after making these adjustments, Jocelyn with 19, Thyst with 8, Ben with 19, John with 45.
Wow.
And our audience listener with 47.
Oh.
All right.
Close.
John fighting
between
the
John
audience.
and the audience. I mean, not with us.
Well, and then we're gonna get to which character is gonna be revealed in Heroes.
Yeah.
Okay, but you guys cannot claim that I was not fair about that. I told you every leaked character and gave you guys a chance to change your answer.
Oh, that's fine. I'm not saying anything bad about you. I'm just saying
that
because of the way that the points are going to be tallied, that's a very, very good luck at the draw for you.
All right. Speaking of John, let's go to his question in the boss battle. where John asked the question and I made the answer, and then you all predicted higher, lower, or exactly right. John asked how many new race class combos will be announced for WoW. This includes new combinations of old races and classes and newly announced races or classes. I didn't ride the subclass train. I thought it would be, if anything, one race. I was very wrong. I predicted 9. The answer is much, much higher. I didn't even try to count the answer because we have 6 races. They all have the classes that their near parallel race has. The answer is stupid high, much higher. Jocelyn guessed lower, so she got it wrong. Thyst thought I was exactly right. I'm sorry, Thyst.
I trusted you and you let me down. Typical.
I did. Ben, John, and the audience listener all guessed higher. They were all correct. John gets double points on that one. The audience listener also gets double points because John's question counted as double for all audience listener, all listener participants.
Just John's or every?
Just John's. I randomly determined before I scored these which one would count as double for people filling it out there, and it ended up being John's. Okay. So. All right, next question was the one from Ben. How many times will Gil get a shout out during the WoW Q&A?
That's a good question.
Oh, guys.
Which, by the way, I'm totally blaming you on this, Ro.
Oh, I'm totally blaming myself on this too. If you listen to the Q&A, you may notice that at the very beginning I kind of stutter stop, and it's because in my mind the process is going, do I say it? Do I give the guild shout out? And I was like, do I? Don't I? I don't know. It's like, am I influencing the thing? I decided to go ahead and say it. What I didn't expect was that I would set off a chain reaction that would cause almost every single person in that line to give a guild shout out.
Gosh dang it, bro.
Great job.
So while I said 8, anyone who predicted lower or exactly 8 was wrong, and that meant all of you were wrong.
That's your fault.
So no one gets points for that.
So Ro loses points, right? That's what we're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. We'll say Rose. We'll say Rose at -1. I actually scored. By the way, I kept track of my own score for this, and I think I'm like close to Thyst right now in score.
Oh,
so,
that's nice.
By the way, I would like just to point out that this was my question, and there is, some might say, a chance that you directly influence the outcome.
I think that's true.
That's true.
I think that's true.
I'm just saying that. Saying that.
Hey, some would say that if I didn't give the guild shout out, though.
No, because if you didn't do a thing, that doesn't change anything.
People will still do it even if you don't. Let's check 2016.
It makes a sound even if you're not there.
When you started 2016's question, did you give a guild shout out? Because if the answer is no. If the answer is no, then other people still gave a guild shout out. And as you say, hold on.
It's always drama.
And I'm not going to get this quote exactly, but I remember you saying something along the lines of, the previous year had about 7 shout outs to their guild. I'm going to guess 8.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Also consider that last year I gave the shout out and it ended up being 7. So I gave the shout out this year and everyone decided to do the shout out. I didn't think it was going to end up being
so you're sure that you gave the shout out last year?
Yes.
Okay.
I totally remember giving this shout out last year.
What was the total?
Because I was asked by someone to do so.
Hold on, I got a solution. What was the total number of times shout outs that they did?
For this year?
Yeah.
I don't know because it's stupid high. I stopped counting at 9.
Okay, so here's what I think you should give everybody some points. I think Ben should get a few more than everybody else because you broke the game. You cheated.
I did not break the game. No one's getting extra points for this one. No. Moving on to Jocelyn's question. How many remastered titles will be announced? Jocelyn said more than 1. So did Thyst. Ben and John said lower than 1. Audience listeners said exactly 1, matching my prediction. Again, a controversial question. What is remastered? What is a remake? I think it's something in video games that is still somewhat debated. guys, we could probably end up debating this for like 5 or 10 minutes, but we're already 45 minutes into this show, so I think I'm just going to put the hammer down and say I consider WoW Classic a remastered title. Therefore, the audience listener got points, and none of you got points.
You are out of your mind.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree with John on this.
Executive Azeroth decision. If this influences a listener victory, you're disqualified. I will not let you win. Go on, Ro. I don't want to sidetrack us. I'm just going to tell you that as the host of the show, I will override you on this at the end.
Whoa. I like it when you guys get aggressive.
I mean, I could explain my answer.
No,
later.
you don't have to. It's not a remaster. It is absolutely not a remaster.
It's old code that they're bringing back.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's
There's
what I
nothing
think.
that's actually updated. There's nothing that is better.
They're not bringing it back because they have to reconstruct it. Anyhow, this question: how many BlizzCon how many BlizzCon events will feature Ian Hazzikostas? I predicted 4, and Thyst thought that I was exactly right, and once again I let this down. Because the answer was 2.
Yes.
It was the WoW Q&A and the WoW What's Next panel. Nothing else. So Jocelyn, John, and the audience listeners said lower than 4. They all got it right. Ben said higher. I don't know why. I think Ben was high at that point. And this doesn't get point-siders. So at the end of this, points being what they are, we have Jocelyn with 24, Thyst with 8, Ben with 24, John with 55, audience listener with 72.
Maybe lower.
Wow.
Maybe lower.
All right, that brings us to the Nexus Challenge. Just 2 things left to do, guys, but they're important. The Nexus Challenge, I let you guys predict up to 4 people that could be announced as characters in Heroes of the Storm. Jocelyn, you said Deathwing and Elise Starseeker. Neither of them were in, so you got 0 points out of the possible 24 that were up for grabs. Thyst, you went all in on Symmetra. I love that passion, but it still got you 0 points.
It'll happen someday. Mark my words.
I agree. It will happen someday. Ben, you said Alex Straza.
Mm-hmm.
You said Hanzo.
Mm-hmm.
But you also said Leah.
Yeah, that's because I thought she'd be a cool character, and I was. And I will reiterate this: I was not aware of the rumors or leaks or whatever beforehand. I just want to make that very clear.
Yes. So Ben got 2 out of 3 right, which means he got 2/3 of the 24 points, and he wasn't perfect, which means you got 16 points. So that was good there. And then John decided to go all in on the Dragon Queen, just Alex Straza, a very safe bet, perhaps the safest bet, and it also got you 24 points because you made no wrong guesses there. So, John, well
That
played.
is not how I thought that worked.
Well, math is hard. It's all the math and stuff. It's all about paying attention to it all. So here's the thing. At the end of this, our points right now are Jocelyn 24, Thyst 8, Ben has 40, and John has 79. That brings us to our final part. You may notice that.
And what about our listener?
I'll get to that in a minute. That brings us to our final one, and that is the Proving Grounds, the big prediction of it all. Jocelyn, you said that there would be a new client overall for Hearthstone, that we would see a new tournament mode or ladder play that isn't best of 1. Chat room gave you a rating of 6 on that prediction, which meant that you had possibly 30 extra points to get from this.
Yeah, if Hearthstone ever updated anything ever.
Yeah.
I should have known better.
Oh, man. We hit a sensitive spot, too, on top of it.
So out of those 30, you did not get any points from that. But this is one reason why I gave the chat room the ability to give you points for just how creative your question was, so that the prediction would get you some points at least on that end. Moving on to this predict that the MDI would be announced to return in January. and that it would be back twice a year. Now, while I don't doubt that both of those things will necessarily happen, I don't know about the January part, I think the MDI will be back, and I think it could be back twice a year. It still wasn't announced at BlizzCon, Thyst.
No, but it should have been.
It really should have been. So the chat room rated that prediction a 4 out of 10, which meant you could have gotten 20 points. You, however, got 0 from that. Ben. Ben.
Hi, Ro.
Hi, Ben. You predicted that there would be video chat in the Battle.net launcher announced, and that there'd be the ability to share video to Twitch or YouTube straight from the Battle.net app.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of funny that streaming from the Battle.net app already exists for Facebook.
I had no idea. Because who streams to Facebook? Oh, Blizzard.
But as far as Twitch or YouTube goes, nothing was announced for that. Nothing was announced for video chat. Your prediction was rated a 4 out of 10 by the chat room. You got no points out of the 20 possible you could have scored.
Yeah.
John, brings
Hi.
us to you.
Yeah.
You went with the question that would be the chat room's favorite.
Uh-huh.
Murlocs, you'll know it when you f***ing see it.
I didn't see it.
You know what? I need not say anymore. John didn't see it. Neither did I.
I didn't see it.
I don't think anyone else did either.
I appreciate-
Okay, good. Because for a second, I thought you were going to say, oh, but John, I saw it, and I was going to table flip.
I appreciate everybody who sent me pictures from the show floor of, like, Murlocs. I know it when I saw it. But, guys, you know it when you see it, and we didn't see it. You'll know it when you see it. You might hear this guest next year, and you'll know it when you see it, but we didn't see it.
Yeah, it's been upgraded to a holy shit, you will effing know it when you see it.
Yeah, I put high emphasis
Everybody
on it.
knows.
Yeah.
Everybody knows
Yeah,
it.
there was no doubt you would see it, and I didn't see it.
So, points-wise, our final points for our challengers is Jocelyn 24, Thyst 8.
You don't have to keep saying that, Ro. It's fine.
There's a common theme throughout this episode.
Ben 40, and John Jagger 76. Let's go back to that audience listener thing, because I forgot to mention the Nexus challenge for the audience listener. First of all, I want to say, Alessander, congratulations on being the highest scoring listener.
Congratulations!
Alessander did a heck of a job at making predictions, and I was impressed at a lot of the predictions that Alessander made. I was further impressed by the fact that she predicted Hanzo and Alexstrasza and nothing else.
Wow.
Meaning she got 50 points for that prediction. Now, that meant that she had, going into the final prediction, 121 points. John,
really quick, going back into how exactly did you score that Nexus thing?
It was a possible 24 points. It would be partial credit if you had guesses right, but not a perfect prediction. If you guessed, basically, if you guessed Hanzo and Alexstrasza and none other, it was a perfect it was 50 points. If you had guesses, if your guesses had correct characters and nothing that was wrong, it was going to be 24 points, and you'd get partial credit if you had any wrong answers mixed with right answers, which you did. 2 out of your 3 were right.
Okay, so that's why John didn't get the 50.
Right, because I knew that it would be safe to guess Hanzo or Firebat, because they're also on the list, but I was not 100% sure they would be announced, so I went with the only one that I was sure would be announced, because it was more points than taking a risk and being wrong.
Okay.
So yeah, Alessander is right now has more points than the rest of you, but Alessander has to have double of John's points in order to be the champion. That means that Alessander needs, doing the math here, about 160 points. The only way that's possible is if she went balls to the wall with a big, big prediction, a prediction that would have to be rated by me as a 9 or a 10. I rated her prediction as a 9, guys.
Oh
which means if she got this prediction right, she would get 45 points. She would mathematically have double Johns, and Alessandra would be the champion of Azeroth Roundtable. I will say that Alessandra made a lot of predictions in order to get a high prediction score, including Horde versus Alliance Warfare kicks up a notch.
Are you
scared?
You rated that a 9?
Hold on.
Okay,
sorry. I said there were multiple parts.
I mean, you just said, am I scared? It's like, well, no, I'd give that like a 1.
In addition to Horde versus Alliance Warfare kicks up a notch, she also said Warcraft 3 Remastered would be announced. There'd be an all-new Warcraft game engine. Special will choke and lose first round at StarCraft tournament. DeepMind will have a show match versus a StarCraft Pro and do well, but lose this year. And Neeb will be in the final 2 and win BlizzCon. Basically, her prediction had about 9 different elements to it that could be judged as being correct or incorrect, which is why I rated it so high.
Okay.
The only element she got right of it was that Horde versus Alliance Warfare would be kicked up. So out of the 45 points possible, I only gave her 5 points of that, which means, ladies and gentlemen, after all the drama and after all the controversy, your winner and new champion of Azeroth Roundtable, as if there was any doubt, is John Jagger.
Yay, good job, John.
Two-time champion of Azeroth Roundtable.
How do you feel, buddy?
I feel like there were numbers thrown out. There's a lot of numbers. There were way more points than I expected. I know that Thyst, you had 8, is what I hear.
It's been said, yes.
What I've been told.
So, I mean, John, not to take away from your victory here, but that means that Thyst did get the lowest score. And I'm sorry, what was her wager again, Ro?
I'm seeing Thorn saying he hates this show now, and then I think that might have to do with the fact that I believe that Thyst wagered something about a clean episode of Lagging Balls. Now, may I state for the record, no stipulation was made on when that show has to be produced.
I hope I'm on it.
They could always save it for an April Fool's episode or something like that, something that makes sense. But yeah, there is a clean episode of the LB podcast coming your way, because you can't really say like.
Listen, I feel like our demographics are going to go down a lot. Just want to apologize in advance to all the really cool people who love swears and dick and fart jokes.
No, all I need to do is this. It's the family-friendly episode.
I want to be there, and I want to just constantly have setups for dirty jokes that you guys can't actually pay off.
If John was a guest on this one, that'd be great.
Oh, John, that seems like it'd be really hard.
It would be hard.
It is hard.
It's so hard.
Except for right now. It's quite soft.
Yeah. Ro was pretty soft on his judging.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, we got that within just about an hour. So, yay me, I get 5 points for getting the episode done within an hour.
Well, before we go any further, though, I would like to, first of all, Ro, thank you very much for setting all this up. That was very, very awesome of you. Thyst, thank you very much for joining us with your 8 points.
Hey, I'm here to contribute.
and you did about 8 points worth. Jocelyn, thank you very much for joining us for this as well. It has been an absolute pleasure being neck to neck with you for most of the episode.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yep. And also, Jocelyn, I would like to thank you for contributing to the prize that Alessandra gets. Would you like to tell her what she's won?
BlizzCon loot bag.
Ooh. So, Alessandra, I will need to get your information so that we can send that to you all in good time.
And in addition to that, Alessandra will get a Murloc plush or Murloc mug of her choice from the Blizzard Gear store, which is being thrown in by me.
Nice.
Yay. Good job, Alessandra.
Well done.
So, with that said, my job here is done. I have removed the crown from my head and virtually placing it on the bald head of one John Jagger. John, you may not have a statue, but you do have a crown.
He had to bring up the statue. He had to bring it up.
It had to be done.
It's John. John's king of the show.
Well,
It's
you know,
John
I'm gonna
and
tell
he's
you,
king.
this is
He's
the one.
king of the show.
Thanks, Ben.
It's John.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks, Ben.
John.
Thanks, Ben. I am going to tell you the one thing that's going to be a little difficult. The part about winning this that is unfortunate is that now in a year I have to somehow top what Ro did. I can guarantee you there will be less math because I can't do it. So that's a for sure because I'm incapable of figuring it out. But beyond that, Ro, you put in production value, you put in a ton of work, and I'm terrified at having to try to do any of that for next year. So
Well, you've got a whole year to work on it.
I guess I'll get started.
Hey, I will say for the record, if you would like my assistance on any part of that, it's more fun for me sometimes just making this thing happen rather than being one of the contestants on it. I'd have no problem with not being one of the challengers and just helping you make it happen. So you've got my hand there if you want it.
Ro offered me his
Got
hand,
your
you
hand.
guys.
Hand where?
I don't know.
I gotta get it out now.
Yeah, you gotta take care of it now before you can't say it later.
Jeez.
All right.
Yeah. Well, with that, again, Ro, thank you very much for all of your help in making this, our probably most look forward to episode like sets a huge success. So thank you very much for that. But in the meantime, where can people find you?
They can find me on the Rolling Restart podcast. It's a WoW podcast. Sometimes Ben and John are on it. This has been on it once before, which means at some point I need to get Jocelyn on it one time. Just make it all complete. You can find that at rollingrestart.frozenfoxmedia.com. And if you love Blizzard podcasts, and who doesn't, listen to my show, Realm Maintenance, which is a podcast about other Blizzard podcasts. You can also follow that on Twitter at Realm Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at RoWow, RHOWOW.
All right. Thank you, Ro. Jocelyn, you were absolutely fantastic. Like I said, it has been a pleasure having you on. We always love having you around. In the meantime, until next time, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter and Twitch at Joss Plays, and I just wanted to let everybody know that actually tomorrow morning, starting at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time and running for 24 hours, we are doing our Extra Life Marathon. So we're going to be streaming over on twitch.tv/JossPlays. Please do come and join us and help us boost the signal. We would really appreciate it.
Definitely. I've seen your charity streams like the last few years, actually. And in fact, because of one of those, that's how I met you. So
That's true.
I'm very, very happy that you continue to do that. It's great work, and they're definitely a lot of fun to watch. So everybody definitely check those out. I just said definitely like 5 times, but it's cool.
It was good. It was good.
Yeah,
Definitely did.
Definitely, yeah. I'm a good driver. Definitely a good driver. You know. Thyst, I know you only got 8 points, and I know that the wager that you threw out there was something that makes Thorn a little upset. But I do have to say, thank you very much for joining us. It has been an absolute treat. Where can people find you?
If they still want to, because nobody listens to losers. I'm on Twitter at Thyst03, and I do Lagging Balls. You can find it at laggingballs.com. And I just wanted to quickly thank everybody who wanted me here and apologize for doing so poorly, but I had a fun time. All of my predictions, I just wanted them so badly at BlizzCon because I was just, following my heart. And even though, like, basically nothing that I said came true, obviously, I'm
8
still
points
pleased.
worth did.
Yeah, well, sure. I'm still
A
pleased
little
with
bit of
whatever
trivia I
happened.
need to mention this.
Sure.
Of the 55 listeners that participated, about 13 of them ended up with negative point scores. So there is that.
Hey, that's great. I'm the queen of the negatives.
Well, no,
No,
you're
were
better
positive.
than them.
We're not better than anybody. We're just playing along. But I am the queen of love and beauty, turns out. So
Yes, you are the queen.
I did get a sash and a crown, so I feel pretty good about myself anyway.
Okay. John, I know that you are not the queen of love and beauty. However,
No.
you are the champion of Azeroth Roundtable. Is there any other place other than here that people can find you?
If you want to hear me talk about Heroes of the Storm, you can catch me on Core. Which is the Heroes of the Storm podcast I do. You can find out more information about it at heroesforyou.com. Ben,
Very cool.
sometimes
John.
you record a podcast that gets interrupted because the internet goes out. Why don't you tell people about it?
Well, Ludra and I started to record Battle Pets last night, and the internet cut out. Yay. So we're going to hopefully be finishing the recording either today or tomorrow on that. If you want to know what I'm talking about, listen to Battle Pets. It's a show about battle pets in the World of Warcraft. If you want to find me otherwise, I'm on Twitter at BenTheMage. I do want to stream more, and I know that once Nevermore is able to actually, sit comfortably in her chair, we'll be doing more Super Mario World streaming. So make sure to check out twitch.tv/BenBumhofer.
She's adorable.
that was from the bedroom. She yelled really loud. This show, however, Azeroth Roundtable, we would like to first off say thank you everybody for listening. John and I have always looked forward to our BlizzCon shows or our episodes, whether it's recording live from BlizzCon when we've had the ability, whether it's driving back from BlizzCon, and then of course the prediction shows, which turn out to be some of our favorite times of year. So thank you very much for listening and for supporting us through this. Also, John, I know I'm speaking for you here, but we really loved seeing everybody at BlizzCon. Thank you for coming out, reaching out, saying hi, telling us that you love the show, and big hugs to all of you. So thank you. Anyways, so this show, we are on Twitter. We are at AzerothRT. If you have any questions, comments, want to complain about the the scoring or anything, you can always send those emails to realmpodcast@gmail.com. But if you want to talk about other stuff that having to do with Azeroth Roundtable, send those to AzerothRoundtable@gmail.com. And all of our episodes are found on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Alpha Geek Radio, and of course on AzerothRoundtable.com. So check us out. If you haven't, which I don't know why you'd be listening if you haven't checked us out before.
That'd be weird.
That'd be weird.
Hey, everybody. This show's made possible by the patrons. Thank you to everybody who's gone to patreon.com/AzerothRT and helped support us. Thank you to Kimberly G for your increase in pledge. And as always, thank you to the Murloc Club. That's Aaron and Simon. Thank you for your additional support. You can become a patron, assuming we haven't somehow personally offended you by the outcome of this contest.
Well, you won, John, so in theory, they should be happy.
No, it was fun, because I was literally watching someone in the chat just get lividly angry. I don't know if it was real or not, but just constant stream of no, disappointed. Guys, we don't actually take this all that seriously, no matter how we pretend we might. But if we did send you away, we apologize. But if you did enjoy it, patreon.com/AzerothRT, and we appreciate your support.
Yep. And one last thing, too. This will be the last night that we stream at 8 p.m. Pacific for the time being, because John and I live in Arizona, and guess what? Our time doesn't change. So look for us live on Twitch starting next week at 7 or 6 p.m. Pacific.
Our time doesn't change.
Wait, hold on.
So the show time
7 p.m.
changes.
Pacific. Yeah, 7 p.m. Pacific.
Specifically.
I'm done here. Anyways, to the Murloc Club, to everybody else, thank you very much for listening, and see you at next year's BlizzCon.
All right. That's
it.
it.